Welcome back to another edition of the Gabagools Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff. With me today, the Cuzzo Dan for episode 80. How we feeling?
Not feeling 80, I'll tell you that. Feeling young, feeling young at heart. A tough loss. We'll get into it a little bit later in the pod. Tough loss last night with the Bears and the 49ers. Heck of a game though. If you're a Bears fan, you gotta hold your head high after that one. But you know what? Feeling good. Side note: weather went back down again. Right? We were in like the 40s. It was almost 50 one day recently. Now we're back into like the 20s or something. Mother Nature, what the hell is going on here? Come on now, help me out a little bit.
No kidding. What was it, 2 days? Christmas was pretty warm too, obviously, when we celebrated. But,
Mm-hmm.
the couple days after it, pretty warm weather. I think yesterday was like 55 degrees. I don't remember. I think yesterday it rained like pretty much all day, and then it turned into snow.
Yeah.
That kind of sucked a little bit. But, yeah, now we're back into the blistery cold and bringing in the new year. And, I don't know. Do you have any traditions that you do to bring in the new year? Do you set yourself some goals? This is just off the rip, but any goals that you set, do you do any of that stuff?
I tell myself I'm going to be a better human being the next year. And then usually right around this time, I say, did I accomplish that? The answer is usually, not sure. But as far as, goals, I'm not one of those who says, I'm gonna hit the gym this year. I'm gonna get out there and do that. I don't always have a New Year's resolution. But you know what? I always try to start the new year off on the best note you can, right? You try to make sure you get to work as early as possible. I'm somebody who's very late all the time, so January 1st, 2nd, whatever the first day is I go back after the new year, you might see me there a few minutes before I normally get there, and then by the end of the month, I'm probably back to, my old habits.
Yeah. Dan's like the white rabbit from Alice in Wonderland who is always late, and he's got the pocket watch, and he's like, I'm very late for a very important date.
I'm always late. I've been told I'm going to be late to my own funeral
Yeah.
for
I
30
think I said
years.
that on one of our first podcasts, actually.
Yeah, so you know what? Some people just don't have a good concept of time. That's another thing I've also been told for 30 years. But you know what? We roll with it. I'm okay. I take the jokes in, and I just, I'm like, you know what? I'll get ready when I get ready. Shit.
We know you're a bird of your own feather or whatever you want to call it. We all
Yeah.
know.
Uh,
Anyway, yeah. I mean, you can't go into the new year without doing some sort of tradition. Obviously, there's some fun ones where you do like you open the front door and then you open the back door, so you bring in the new year and you let out the past. So, you could always start with that one. That one's good if you have front and back door.
yeah, some fresh air. Yeah, let the fresh 2020. What is it going to be? 2026.
I know.
Fresh air come on in. Yeah, that's interesting. Got to be honest. Don't think I've ever heard of that.
Hmm.
But that's an interesting resolution. You got any other? You got anything else?
You just do like cinnamon at the door too, or you blow like cinnamon into like your door. That one's a good one for it brings you good luck. So it's another good one you could try. But yeah,
You sure
this
about that? You sure about that?
I'm not sure how lucky I am, obviously, given my, this transition into fantasy we're going to talk about in a little bit. Yeah,
Cinnamon.
yeah,
Never
no,
heard of cinnamon.
oh yeah, yeah. You look it up, and then it's like salt in your door too. It's another one keeps
Jeez Louise.
keeps all the bad out.
Keeps all the bad voodoo and spirits away.
Yeah,
Well, I would think you just want to maybe hang some garlic at your front door so the vampires don't try to get you.
that's vampires. It's not going to
Well,
save you from everything else.
garlic's got a heck of a healing power against them. So
I know that because I make the garlic honey. I think I've said that in the podcast,
you definitely told me that recently. I
or
don't
I
know if
told
this
you
was
in
on the
person.
pod or in confidence, but yeah, it was one or the
Yeah,
other.
yeah, yeah. For the people, if I didn't say it before, yeah, take some raw garlic, and you put it in a jar with some honey, and it's basically like a natural cough syrup slash like immunity builder. So there you go. Simple, easy. You're not slugging
Jeff's
down
Jeff's
medication.
tip of the day: raw garlic and honey.
Yep, there you
Write
go.
that down.
Write it down, everybody. Jumping into baseball because we missed last week, and I also kind of wanted to bring it up too because I don't think we even talked about it the other week either. We forgot to mention the fact that the White Sox got the first overall pick in the draft coming up for, because the lottery, with how horrific they've been. And this was kind of the year to get it because the number one prospect, Rock Chakowski out of UCLA, I don't know if you've heard the name. He's incredible, and he could be a fast track to the big leagues, not just because he's a white, like going on the Sox and there's really, a log jam of people in front of him. But just overall, he's that type of talented shortstop. So pretty excited about that.
Yeah, I've heard a little bit about this youngster. I've heard the comparisons of some of the things he can do to some guys that are already in the league or have been in the league. Yeah, the number one, I don't love the lottery system. I know you don't either. I think if you're that bad, you should be able to get the first pick. I mean, we're seeing that in the NFL with how bad the Raiders are. It looks like they're going to secure the number one pick. So, but, I guess I got to say, good for you guys to get the number one pick. It should be the worst teams that are getting those top picks for sure. You gotta find a way to get better. Some teams don't have all the financial means to spend. Some teams just choose to go about it a little bit differently. And all you can hope for when you've got this pick is, it should be a pretty easy pick when you've got the number one. Sometimes there's two or three guys that are kind of like they're all up here, but when you've got the number one, you hone in on one guy. It shouldn't take you your full 5 minutes or whatever it is for the pick. It should be we know who we're going with. And it sounds like it's going to be this kid. So he's a shortstop. Does he play the outfield too, or is he just short?
I think he's just shortstop, which is fine because what we could do, obviously we do have a log jam at shortstop because Colson Montgomery finally made his debut. He got up to shortstop. That's not really going to be bad because you can move him to third base if need be. You got plenty of time before Rock will come up. Got a couple years, so you could transition him. They also did draft in the recent last year's draft Billy Carlson. He's a shortstop. He's projected to come up like 2029. So once again, a little bit further time. I think Rock will be I think he might actually be up a lot sooner, depending on how quickly they develop him, get him moving. But good thing to have, good problem to have. I mean, you could always move people around, but sticking on Sox news here, they actually signed someone relevant. So they signed Manataka Murakami to a 2-year, $34 million deal. And for those who do not know who the hell he is, he's a Japanese slugger who is basically, I think he was compared to like the Japanese Babe Ruth. I think Otani was too at one point. But, and when I mean Babe Ruth, the guy's hit so many home runs in I think it's MPB, baseball league in Japan. And, one of the big criticisms against him is the fact that he only sees pitches between like 91 and 93. So people are like, can he hit a 100-mile-per-hour fastball? I'm sure he'll be able to. I mean, good baseball players are able to. The nice thing is that, yes, he's turning 26 in February. But he brings in an elite power bat. He's one of the best hitters, like I said, from Japan. And this is a big deal for the White Sox because not only did they outbid some people for him, they spent the money on him. They also just brought him into a nice 2-year deal where essentially if it doesn't work out for the Sox, okay, we wash our hands of it. He's gone in 2 years. And if not, this gives us and if he does pan out with the Sox, and it seems like he wants to be here, given the fact that he just donated like hundreds of free meals to some families and supporting the community. So that was good. So good guy ready to start that. And if he ends up panning out as a baseball player, you send him an extension, get him until he's at least age 30. And, hopefully by 2030, the Sox are at least in the competitive window, which they are projected to be around that time.
Yeah, he was an interesting one coming over. Obviously, we've seen players coming over from the Japan League for a while, but recently we've seen a lot of guys come over, and a lot of them have been really good, which makes it seem like, okay, well, you bring one of the other next best guys over, they should be pretty good too. And it seems like there's a lot to like with Murakami. I was actually kind of hoping maybe the Cubs would try to maybe lure him over here, but Very good move for you guys, I think. Let's give our props to Chris Getz for, like you said, going out and outbidding and getting that deal done. And he's made other good moves too, right? I mean, you can't credit him with everyone in your farm system, but you've got a nice farm system going right now with a lot of good players down there that you should be anxious to see. Probably some of them this year, I would hope.
Yeah,
And
I could jump into a couple of them too that we're going to see because I know typically in the past we talk about their pitching staff, and I think that's actually going to be the biggest hole, believe it or not, on the team coming forward the next couple of years. So obviously the big two names that you know already, Noah Schultz, he'll be up probably opening day. He'll be slotted into that top five. Hagen Smith, they drafted him 2 years ago now. He was flirting around with Double A. He'll be probably starting the year in Triple A, depending on how he's looking. But he's been doing a lot of fall league stuff, so he might be up. So that's another guy. And then some guy named Tanner McDougal should be pretty solid as well. He's been in our top 10 system, so we'll see what we get out of him as well. And not only do we have them, but Shane Smith, Sean Burke will still be on the team as far as I know, and then Drew Thorpe will be coming off of the Tommy John surgery. So.
And he's a big one for me too, because he was looking like last year, 2 years ago, whatever. He was looking pretty good on a team that obviously we all know was not very good. He was really one of your lone bright spots. So I'm excited to see him come back. We'll see what he has. I don't know if it was TJ or I don't know if what it
Yeah,
was. It was
yeah, it
okay.
was. Yeah,
He's one of those guys that kind of knows how to pitch though. He's got an excellent plus changeup. He's going to be good. You mentioned your starting pitching maybe is a little weak right now, but yeah, when you call up Schultz and Hagen Smith and you pair them with Burke and then Thorpe is back in the mix, we've been saying it the last year or two. And I know you're tired of talking about all the prospects because you've been through it a lot recently with the rebuilding and not everybody coming up and being that good or at least consistently good. So, yeah, you got some really good, talented young arms down there. And, we're reminded offense is sexy, but when you've got a legit starter that can go out there and shut you down for not just five, but 6, 7, 8, 9 innings, that's really the most valuable commodity in our sport, especially right now with starting pitchers going 4 or 5 innings a game. So things are looking up for the south side of the sister team, if you will, in Chicago.
yeah, absolutely. And we get a full year of Colson Montgomery this year. He'll be up right away,
He's
which is
going to be a
great.
big one too, right? We saw him,
It's
he
even
get,
runs.
he got
I couldn't
recalled,
believe
and,
it.
and we saw how hot he got. So he's going to be the
Yeah,
big one for you guys, right? I mean, we keep talking about all your arms. If you guys can make sure that he's good, he's got a good bat next year, and you can have this rock kid, assuming you take him and he gets up in the next year or two, and maybe you get another bat or two with these arms. Now you're looking at something. And then in a Central Division that typically doesn't see teams win much more than 90, 92 games a year unless you have a really good year. So it's a very
yeah.
winnable division with some of these guys.
Yeah, and then bringing in Murakami, that helps solidify um,
Definitely.
a decent core around. Obviously, like I said, you had the power bat with Montgomery. Kyle Teal showed up last year, showed he could be
Mm-hmm.
a star. You obviously had Edgar Kiro too.
Yep.
I've been talking about him, but not only that, but you have Braden Montgomery. He'll be up this year too. Another stud outfielder. Pretty excited about him. He'll probably slot into right field. The biggest question too that I've been seeing on Twitter, which just kind of made me laugh, was people wanted Luis Robert traded already. I guess he was projected to go to the Reds. There was a lot of talks, but they recently just signed. Who the hell did they sign? Not Austin Hayes, but someone. So they signed somebody. Great podcasting here, not knowing who I'm bringing up, but they just signed somebody that was kind of like a stopgap essentially for that, so they don't have to move the prospects.
I was just going to ask you, or I was just going to say, who's the
Yeah.
one name we haven't mentioned on your team yet? And that's Louie Louie. And you know
Yep.
what? I mean, what he's like an enigma. I don't know what to think of him because we've been saying for the last 4 or 5 years, it seems like he's one of the most talented outfielders in the sport, but he just can't stay healthy. And then this last year, just really, I think he hit 220 or 230 on the year. So I don't even know what you guys do for him. It seemed like 2, 3 years ago you could kind of still get the king's ransom for him. Now I don't think you're really anywhere near that. So do you
No.
try to move him and get something for him? Do you hope that I don't know how much longer he's under contract either. It's probably only another year or two, or did he
This
sign like a 1 year this year or
this was the team option this
team
year,
option
so it was
this
his
year?
last year
So
team
this is
option.
it.
$20 million. This is pretty much it to see what we get out of him. I
What
think
do you think?
I think you hold him. I mean, we don't have. It's not like we have a bunch of guys. Like I said, Braden Montgomery, but he can't play all three spots because once again we have Benintendi out there too. He's not going to be sticking around, I don't think. But I want to keep him. He's not making the team worse being on the team. I think with the young group of guys, it kind of showed last year before he got banged up. Shocker. That with the young guns coming up and kind of a little bit more excitement, he kind of looked like a different player. He was starting to hustle back down the line. We got rid of a lot of the toxic environment. Pedro Gafral was part of that. You had all those other guys that were gone, and you ended up with just like a hodgepodge of just toxicity. Toxicity? I don't know. Toxic
Toxicity.
environment. Yeah. It was just bad for him. He didn't want to be here. He didn't want to play baseball, just like the rest of those guys.
Yeah, well, I guess my question here is before we move on from the White Sox, do you move him at the deadline? Because I don't know right now, unless he comes back and has one of those years we all think he should be having. I don't know if the White Sox are that interested in keeping him around. He's still young enough, but at some point or another, you got to put up or shut up, right? We all know what we all think we know what he's capable of. It's time to go out there and do it. And if he starts doing it, he's going to be up there for one of the best outfielders in the league this year, or he should be. If that's the case, you could probably get something for him at the deadline.
Still an elite glove out in the outfield. I mean, he was a Gold Glover, I believe. I think he won a Gold Glove at least
Yeah,
once.
but you want this guy for his bat. We all know what this guy should be capable of. If he's back healthy, hitting homers, not hitting 220, 230, if he's closer to at least 250, but show me 270, 280. Give me something there. Hit me 20 homers or more by the break. Steal me 20, 30 bases by the break. Along with your, like you said, Gold Glove caliber outfield.
I mean, he had a 2020, I think 2020 year leading up to him getting hurt too. Like he was leading baseball in stolen bases at one point. So you never know. I mean, like I said, I want to keep him just because like we don't have somebody there that like can obviously step in and provide that potential power bat. Obviously, he hasn't lived up to what we wanted him to be. Last year, obviously, he batted 223, like you mentioned. He only had 14 home runs, but stolen bases were there. He had 33 of them. Obviously, that helps. But yeah, got to keep him on the field. And he's only 27. So, I mean, worst comes to worst, you give him an extension if he does have a nice year. But to answer your question that you asked, do you move him at the deadline? I think if they plan on moving him, it'll be at the deadline, not now, because there's no reason to. We're not going to go get another 4A player just to have playing out in the outfield for no reason. So, yeah. Well, last two notes I have, we did sign Anthony Kay, another guy that played in Japan. He was a pitcher for, I think he was in MLB at one point, but signed him to a 2-year, $12 million deal. Seems like we're kind of doing that with our rotation. I think Sean Burke was the other guy we did that with a couple of years ago when we signed him. Gives us another arm that we desperately need. He had a 1.74 ERA, good ground ball rate. He averages around 94 miles per hour. And then this guy you might know because he's been kind of around the league for a while. 1-year deal for $4.5 million. Sean Newcomb. I'm happy about that one. Needed a lefty in there, whether he's at the bullpen or whether he can start. I'll be happy with whatever, but I'm sure he'll be a bullpen flexibility. He had 2.73 ERA, so low risk. And we needed bullpen help, so that'll help. Getting a vet in there to help out with like Grant Taylor, Matt Vassell, yeah, should help. So I will transition to you after off of the White Sox.
Yeah, and that's one of those kind of not a real sexy move, but it's a move. If you're a baseball guy, you know that that's a sneaky good move, especially for a team that's, like you guys that are looking to get a little bit better and take that next step forward next year.
Yeah, both those moves. Like I said, I'm happy with both of them because you never know what they might turn into. I laugh at the people who say, "Oh yeah, if they turn out, you could trade them for something." It's like, why do we keep doing this little circle of like, okay, this guy's good, let's trade him. I hate that part of like the whole prospect rebuild part is that you bring in a guy like Mike Talkman. I would have loved to re-sign him because the dude just came out and balled. Was he going to be a star of the team? No, but I felt like he would be a good fourth outfielder when you need him.
The Palatine Pounder.
Yeah. So We'll
We
see.
also had some other moves within the last week or so in baseball. A couple of interesting trades here. I wanted to bounce a couple off you really quick. How about the Boston Red Sox trading for an ex-Cub, Wilson Contreras, for three minor leaguers? Interesting move here. I don't know your thoughts on Wilson. I don't know if he was just because of Cub. I don't want to sound too biased. I think the guy's pretty good. He
Used to
had
be.
he had a solid year transitioning out of the pretty much everyday catching role, moving over to first base. Um, First base is a position not everybody has a solid bat over there at first base, and I think Wilson was hurt a little bit last year, if my memory serves me correct, but he's a
Yep.
solid bat. I think he's an underrated player. I don't think that he's one of the top couple first basemen in the league, but I also think that you look up this year and you're going to see his name pop up as a top 10 player at that position. He's more than capable defensively. He knows how to pick balls in the dirt. He's played a year now at first base. He's got more time to get a little bit better and move with his feet underneath him. And Boston, we've heard a lot of rumblings about them. They were linked to some other big time starting pitchers or this guy and that guy. They're still trying to bring back Alex Bregman. I don't think they've done that just yet. But the Wilson Contreras move is interesting to me. Um, Seems like they're probably ready to move on from Tristan Casas. If I mean that's what this signals to me at least. But I'll throw it over to you for a second. Wilson Contreras going to Boston.
Low risk move. I mean, if you can get the 20 home runs that you like the Cubs got out of him, essentially. I mean, I just looked up his baseball reference real quick just to see like historically. I mean, he hits about 20 to 24 home runs a year. It was as a catcher though, so he was batting at a different position. Now that he's at first base, that is a hole for Boston. I think it's a low risk signing. I mean, he's a 2.5 WAR. That was with the Cardinals team that wasn't very good either, and he had 80 RBIs. So, depending on what those prospects were that they gave up, I'm not 100% sure on the quality of them. I did see that trade, but it's a good move. I think anytime that you could bring in a potential veteran first baseman to kind of grow or help, grow this team. I mean, like you said, Tristan Casas wasn't very good. I don't know who their designated hitter is either, but obviously you got, him, got Casas, Rafaela was been probably one of the better center fielders defensively over the last couple of years for them. Marcelo Mayer, Rami Gonzalez is still on that team. Trevor Story, another veteran guy. And then, you never know what you might get out of them. So that the Boston Red Sox are an interesting team because they could obviously make the playoffs, but like Duran has been so up and down in his career. Roman Anthony, he looked like he was setting the world on fire. He got hurt. Yoshida has been up and down, and then you never know what you're going to get out of this team. And I think it goes, they come and go by their pitching staff. I think with them getting Sonny Gray, they are in a win now mode. Just given the fact that the Orioles really weren't very good last year, Toronto's tough. Yankees are always the Yankees; they're always going to be around. So should be an interesting one. They have a pretty young back end of their rotation. Kyle Harrison, uh, last name's Early, and then Peyton Toll. All those guys are pretty young, so we'll see what we get out of them.
I agree with you. How about this one? I thought this one was a little interesting because I had heard this kid's name for a little bit growing up. How about Baltimore making the trade for Shane Baz in exchange for
Yeah,
four players and a competitive balance round A pick? I'm not super familiar with that, but essentially a one for five. Um, Shane Baz, I like his stuff. And I think last year was his first year of being up for, I think, pretty much the whole year. He had some good starts, but I think he also finished the year with a near 5 ERA. So not great there, but he had some highs and he had some lows this year. Still very young. So, and then obviously coming up through Tampa's organization, they just know how to draft and they know how to acquire talent. And these kids come up and you're like, who the heck are these guys? And then 2, 3 years later, you're like, well, this guy's just really good. So thought that was interesting. And then Baltimore, we've been saying Baltimore needs starting pitching for the last 3 years. they finally go out and get a guy, maybe not as glitzy and glamorous as a Framber Valdez or a Ranger Suarez or some of these other big names that are still out there. But interesting move with Shane Baz going to Baltimore. Thoughts?
Yeah, like the move. Kind of funny that this Chris Archer trade from like how many years ago, the players are still circulating.
The web.
Obviously, yeah, it's so funny that Pittsburgh had all of these players at one point. I think that it was like Glasnow and Shane Baz was like the last guy of that deal too, that got traded, and then now he's also getting traded out of Tampa. So, change of scenery will probably help him. I know he came up. He had a lot of injuries over his career thus far too, so he hasn't really had a big stint at the big league level except for this year. Made 31 starts, went 10-12. Obviously, Tampa Bay has been kind of dog shit over the last couple of years too. So good change of scenery for him. I think the Orioles can't be much worse than they were last year. I mean, if they are, I'll eat my words on it, but they're definitely a better team than the Rays.
I would agree with you on that one. Speaking of the Rays, a former Ray going to the Miami Marlins. I thought this was a little interesting too. How about Pete Fairbanks going to Miami? Got to be honest with you, I'm a little upset about this one. As a Cubs fan, we got to retool the bullpen, right? Most of our bullpen is gone. Half of them have already signed with other teams. This was a guy that was connected, I think, maybe loosely to the Cubs and maybe some other teams. Maybe teams didn't want to give up that much. I don't know. I felt like Fairbanks would have been a really nice addition to a lot of clubs, especially the Cubs. And Miami's one of these teams that sometimes makes those moves like, well, whatever. Miami's going to be decent next year. That Yuri Perez is really good. Sandy's going to come back, and he's going to round into form like, we're used to expecting from him. They've got other good pitchers over there. I think they had a good guy in their bullpen too. Might have been their closer or another guy towards the back end. They just need a little bit more offense over there in Miami. They've got a couple young guys they called up, but the Fairbanks, I saw this. I don't know if this was this morning when I was doing my notes or yesterday, but the Fairbanks to Miami kind of surprised me a little bit. Anything on that?
I mean, he'll probably get traded before the
Yeah.
deadline. I mean, just that's a tough division. The Marlins are one of those teams that they seem to fire their manager every couple of years too. Low risk for them. Kind of a prove it. In my opinion, it's a prove it deal for them. But I mean, if you could shut him down of all places, it'd be good for fantasy. I mean, that he could end up being like a top 5 closer in fantasy, at least for them. Just because the only time that they're going to win is by close ball games. They're not going to win it, in colossal fashion. Because I couldn't even tell you any other position players off the top of my head for Miami. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I like the move. I mean, anytime that you can get a premier closer, I think it's a good thing. I know the Sox did that a couple times where we just had a really good closer, and having a bad team, you move them, and you end up getting a couple young arms that help. And I know the Cubs have done that too in the past. So, speaking of the Cubs, though, yeah, it would have been a perfect fit for him. They seemed maybe they like Palencia. Maybe that's why they kind of don't want to make an aggressive move. Obviously, they still have your guy too. I think you were a big fan of him with Porter Hodge. You can tell me if I'm wrong on that one, but
I think we like. Yeah, I
Porter
think we
Hodge.
have him still too. Yeah, I like those two
Yeah.
guys too. But you can never have enough arms down there. And Fairbanks would have been nice to have. I mean, there's a lot of guys that would
Oh,
have
of
been nice to
course.
have. But yeah, I like those two as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that might be why. I mean, it's if it comes back to haunt him, then I don't know how Jed Hoyer gets these extensions. I mean, that's the biggest weakness that you guys have currently is the fact that you guys don't fill up your bullpen, and it seems just to be this reoccurring cycle from this goes back to Theo. Outside of trading for what not even half a year of Chapman, when you got him, I mean, goodness gracious, they just cannot seem to lock down a bullpen, and they're starting pitching. They still need some pitching there too. I mean, I know they're taking a page out of Rick Hahn's book, was saying, oh, well, we're getting Justin Steele back, and that's just like signing, that. And granted, they were one game away from an NLCS, but still, it's like, that.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that one?
No, I'd love to go out and get another arm for sure. I would have loved Fairbanks. I know we have to retool the bullpen a little bit. Brad Keller signed with the Phillies. about a week ago. So, he's a guy that was a starter a couple of years ago. We kind of brought him into the bullpen, got him to throw a few miles per hour harder, had a really great year, was really, really good for us in the postseason, had one or two hiccups where I think the moment got a little big for him, but still did a really, really great job for us. And he's going to be good for Philly next year. Just, I got like one or two more. We'll just rattle these off quickly here.
Yep.
This seemed
Yep.
like another one of those kind of sneaky moves that's going to end up panning out for this team. But how about San Francisco signing an ex-White Sox, Adrian Hauser? Boy, that guy had a real nice year last year. And San Fran's kind of one of
Yeah.
those teams that, they're trying to do what they can. Buster Posey's new, I think he's the president of baseball op or whatever,
Yeah,
and
he's like
he's
president
making some sneaky
GM or whatever.
moves. Yeah,
I like it. I like that move a lot because it's a low risk. He's not going to hurt. If he's not going to hurt you hard, if anything, So I think they need to kind of do some deep diving into that farm system too with developing those players because that was the biggest issue in my opinion. Larciano, that guy was one of the top prospects in baseball, and he hasn't seemed to do anything for the
Luciano.
Giants.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've got him. I still got him in the league. I'm still hoping. They tried to move him to the outfield. I think they might. Someone, I think he went to another team when they might have just DFA'd him. So we're not looking great with that pick. But I got two more real quick for you. This guy, I
yep,
love his stuff. He hasn't really had a full opportunity, kind of. But Dustin May to St. Louis. I think this is an interesting move here too.
yeah,
Like I said, love the kid stuff. He's got a big kind of funky kind of delivery where he's kind of, he's like the 6'5", 6'6" guy, big hair, kind of you don't know where the ball's going, throws 100. Uh, I've liked his stuff ever since I saw him come up a couple years ago with the Dodgers, and I feel like this about a lot of guys. I feel like if he gets the right fit and the right home, you can see this guy have a sub 3 ERA and really have a really, really good year because he's got great stuff.
yeah. I mean, enough starts at the Dodgers. He did have that, like you mentioned, but over the last couple of years, injuries and just kind of fell apart. And then obviously, when you're playing with the Dodgers, you're obviously always on, job watch. You'll lose your job there pretty quickly, especially if you're hurt all the time. And then they traded him to Boston, and he didn't do much better there. So Boston said, "See you later," which is kind of funny. But yeah, he's still young enough. He's 27. Give him a chance there to rebuild his career with the Cardinals. So
And I got one last one for you. I kind of thought he was going to go to a different team. We did see this about a week and a half ago. Michael King re-signed with San Diego for a 3-year deal. Um, he was linked to a few teams. San Diego is kind of in this interesting position where, the last couple of years we felt like, they could maybe kind of pace the Dodgers or maybe run them down, if you will, or at least give them a run for their money. This last year, it kind of felt like, are they that good? They kind of really weren't. They were still won 90, 91, 92 games or whatever, but kind of feel like they underachieved a little bit. And then, to me, it doesn't seem like they're going to be that big of a threat this next year. They still have a lot of good players, but I kind of felt like Michael King might test the open waters and go somewhere else. Little surprised he stayed with San Diego. But another guy, I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. I wanted the Cubs to go hard up after him and grab him, but I digress. Not coming to the north side, Michael. It's unfortunate. But Michael King staying with San Diego.
it's nice weather. Nice weather there. I mean,
The
you always have a
best.
chance to have monumental wild card, failure. Obviously, they had a couple injuries last year to that team. Joe Musgrove. I don't know if Yu Darvish is even still going to be there next year. I'm not really
I think he's
too.
supposed to miss most of the year next year with a
I thought
surgery he
so
had.
too,
So,
not the whole
yeah.
thing. But that I know the Padres are linked to that Kasumo Okamoto, another Japanese player. So
Mm,
we'll see if they sign him, so they can kind of do that. But I mean, the Padres, like we just said, weird team. I mean, they went out, they traded for Mason Miller. So they're obviously going to be competitive still. They're not going to, you don't just trade for him and then, completely, bring it back. But I mean, first base, that seems to be a glaring hole. Cronenworth, after he had that one big year, seemed to fall off. You can't win it with Gavin Sheets. Second base, still a pretty big hole there. Obviously, Machado at third, and then Bogarts, who hasn't been really super great either at shortstop. That's
No.
your infield. And then you got Jackson Merrill. He's been pretty good, and Tatis out there. But yeah, should be an interesting one. The Michael King signing back with them makes sense just because they need the pitching, and he could be almost a number one there.
A lot of money on the books, though, in San Diego. So I don't know what, everyone you just mentioned is getting paid oodles and oodles of money. So, but yeah.
Yep. All right. Let's move into the NFL slate. Week 17. We never talked about fantasy football, but we'll bring that up at the end. What we were looking for after the Monday night game. All right, so let's jump in. As Dan always says, we start off on Thursday, which was Christmas Day. Let's
Perfect
jingle our
lead-in.
way in.
Yes, jingle, jingle all the way. We start off Thursday night, Christmas Day, with the Commanders wanted to wish you a Merry Christmas while Dak roasted his chestnuts on an open fire. Cowboys 30, Washington 23. Here's another good one for you. Have a holly jolly Christmas. Max Brosmer threw for 51 yards. Jared Goff with 2 costly picks. Vikings 23, Lions 10. Here's my last Christmas song for you. Silent night, Holy night. Broncos come back to beat the homeless Chiefs. Denver 20, Kansas City 13. Texans D flex their muscles. Too much for Herbert. Houston 20, Chargers 16. All hail the king. Packers get shredded like a sharp cheddar. Baltimore 41, Green Bay 24. No rushing attack with 2 interceptions. Good recipe to play spoiler. Miami 20, Tampa Bay 17. Pats wallop Jets as Drake makes his case for MVP. New England 42, Jets 10. Rodgers just wants to break stuff as he exclaims, "It's just one of those days." Limp Bizkit reference there. Cleveland 13, Pittsburgh 6. Colts start strong out the gate, but Jags finish stronger for 12th win. Jacksonville 23, Indy 17. Jeff, have the Saints found their quarterback? New Orleans 34,
Sure
Tennessee 26. Praise the Lord. Seattle finally let Charby eat. Seattle 27, Carolina 10. Burrow, Brown, Chase all look good. Cincinnati 37, Arizona 14. No, wait. It's clear to me now. The Raiders are taking Mendoza. The Giants 34, Raiders 10. Weird, ugly game for 2 teams with double-digit wins. Philly 13, Buffalo 12. Bears prove they can hang with anyone. Come up oh so short. San Francisco 42, Bears 38, and we have the Rams at the Falcons tonight, 7:15. That is the week in review.
Well done, my friend. All right, let's kick it off. Let's kick it off with the fact that we were together on Christmas Day and we didn't watch one of these fucking games. I had it on too because obviously it was on the TV, but we just never got to it. But I think we should have had a game on Christmas Eve too. I know it's a Wednesday. Next year we'll actually have like 5 days of games, which is awesome. But starting off with Dallas and Washington. Dallas, neither of these teams had anything to play for. Dallas just did enough to get by. It was nice to see JCM, Krosky Merritt go off and have 2 touchdowns. So is he the guy there now? Now that they're actually giving him more than a couple target or carries a game, I think both him and Chris Rodriguez. I know he was out, but if you would have combined their stats and given it just a one running back, it was like 12 touchdowns. So I think JCM could be that guy there. We'll see. I mean, obviously with Jaden Daniels being out, that's tough. So really, you never know. And obviously Washington didn't really look too good across the board this year.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind if the NFL figured out a way to have all the games on Christmas Day have a little bit more meaning. Next year, if we're going to have five
It was
games, that'd be great. But, you know, coming into the season, Washington had higher expectations. Daniels was pretty banged up this year, had a tough sophomore season. Um, yeah, I mean, feel good game, I guess, for anybody who wins on Christmas Day. So good for Dallas, and yeah.
Yep, exactly. And then was this the game that Detroit got eliminated into? Detroit and Minnesota. I think Detroit got eliminated after this, but
I think so.
what a complete fall off. After you lose Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, obviously the offensive coordinator, you started to see the cracks in the system. And granted, it was a first place schedule that they had to face this year, so it obviously was going to be a lot tougher. St. Brown was banged up. He played, tough guy, but he was banged up. That defense did not look the same this year. Obviously, Aiden Hutchinson was coming off that major injury. Still had a really good year, but still wasn't the same. Jared Goff kind of was like throwing a little bit more interceptions. You didn't see that team look as explosive under this team. We'll see what they come back next year. But the fact that they lost 51 yards from Brosmer made me kind of giggle a little bit because almost all of that was off of one not even it was a rushing attack. Jesus, I just looked at it. Addison's 65-yard rush was a the touchdown. I thought that was a pass, so that's actually really funny. But Detroit, you're going to come back next year, be pretty good just because you're playing a fourth place schedule. Because I think somehow, I don't know how that all works, but somehow Minnesota ended up sneaking into third right now. But yeah, no JJ McCarthy in that game. We're not really seeing what we got out of him. You had a lot of ups and downs with him this year. Obviously, that Giants game was
Yeah.
brutal for both him and Jackson Dart last week. So should be interesting, but kind of makes me laugh that the Lions somehow missed the playoffs after being Super Bowl favorites.
Yeah, it's you hit the nail on the head with that, with losing the offensive, defensive coordinators and all that. It's crazy what a coach or a coordinator can do in the NFL, right? I mean, you could talk about having good coaches or managers in every sport, but it boils down to you really do need a guy that's either a good leader or knows what the hell he's talking about. And for Detroit to lose some of these games the last few weeks, they lost to who did they lose to last week? I forget who they lost to, but they lost. It might have been Pittsburgh, if my memory serves me on that one. And Pittsburgh is, hey, they can win a game, they can lose a game, but they've got, you know, Pittsburgh's got their own issues or whatever. This is a game for Detroit that it's like, God, it just seemed like they were going to win, and it was going to maybe come down to the Bears in Detroit for the last week of the season to see if Detroit can squeak in or not. And yeah, they had a couple of tough losses down the stretch, a couple of picks by Goff. Usually when they're rolling, he's throwing 3, 4, 5 touchdowns with nothing, with no picks. So, yeah, just a couple of bad losses for Detroit. I don't know where they go from here. I would assume they're still going to be good next year. Like you said, playing a fourth place schedule, but even still, too many injuries, a couple key pieces left with the coordinators, and every year is different in the NFL. So I don't know where they go next year.
Yeah, should be interesting. And then moving into a team that also has kind of an interesting outlook going forward too, with Kansas City and Denver. Denver winning 20-13. I did think Kansas City might have had a chance. They did have that, last drive. They were kind of throwing it to the end zone. I thought Kelsey might have gotten one because it sure as hell to me. I don't know if you watched any of the highlights of that. They followed him around the entire time. They panned to Taylor Swift. They panned to his mom in the box multiple times. And at the end of that game, it just looked like, this might be it for him. I mean, even in his intro, it was kind of like an extended, like, hey, thank you. This is our last home game. Like, I'm sending it off. And it's always been something that we kind of knew. And I think with Mahomes being hurt too, I think I read somewhere that he's trying to be back week 1 next year. So you never know. He might come back, but I think this might be it for Travis Kelce, and you don't know where you go from there.
If he hangs it up, I didn't look up his stats, but I think he's up there for pretty much the best tight end of all time. You've got a short list of guys who are up there, right? You've got
Yeah,
Antonio Gates is up there.
Gronkowski,
You've got Tony Gonzalez. You've got some good names. I mean, heck, who's the guy? Greg Olson was a hell of a tight end. I don't know if he has the stats that the couple other guys I mentioned, but he had a hell of a career. I don't know how many tight ends. I mean, obviously Gronk is a stud
I,
too, but
I love how you. I love that you mentioned Greg Olson over
Olson was
Jimmy
a stud.
Graham,
Olson. Oh, I forgot about Jimmy
Jason
Graham. Yeah,
Witten,
you know what? I forgot about Graham
Shannon
because
Sharp.
Witten's been out of the league for a couple of years too. Witten was just Mr. Reliable. He was great. Jimmy Graham with Drew
Yeah,
Brees for all those years. Yeah, he was a freaking cheat code, just like Gronkowski with Brady. Um, but my point
yeah,
is Kelsey's in that conversation with all those guys for greatest tight
absolutely.
end of all time. So,
Yeah,
if that's it for him, he's got multiple Super Bowls. That's gonna kind of distinguish him from some of the other guys on that list. Did Tony Gonzalez ever get one? I don't think
Gonzalez
he
didn't get
did.
one.
I
Antonio
don't think
Gates
he
didn't
did.
get one.
So
They have him on touchdowns. They have more touchdowns than him. Receptions, Tony Gonzalez, Jason Witten have more. But I mean, we're still talking top 3 of all time, and then
yeah,
yards, obviously top 3. That's just because Jason Witten played forever, and he was
yeah.
like the focal point in that offense. So for such a long time, but yeah, it'll be definitely a sad day when Kelsey does retire because it was such a polarizing tight end, and you get a diamond dozen with them for forever in our lifetime. So interesting enough. But yeah, you could obviously say Broncos once again just seem to be this team that just can sneak out these like little victories, and they have something to play for next week. Obviously, they want that bye week and home field. Playing in Denver will not be easy for anyone that tries to do it. So obviously the Jags beat them last week, so that was pretty big. Watch out for them going forward too, which will bring them up a little bit later. But Broncos, yep, still pretty good. Moving into the Saturday game, Houston and the Chargers. Chargers lose. You're starting to wonder too, and I know that we make up so many excuses for Justin Herbert. His offensive line's terrible, but how many more excuses can we start making for him that he might just not be that top 5 quarterback that he's supposed to be? I think he's a very good quarterback. I would love him as my quarterback, but you give him a first round running back who yes was hurt, but you do that. You draft Lad McConkey, who apparently just didn't play at all this year. I don't know if he had a thing for Madison Beer, and that's why Justin Herbert doesn't want to throw it to him anymore. But yeah, we'll see what they end up becoming in the playoffs if they kind of turn it around. But Houston, on the other hand, they look like they're back. That defense is nasty. I think we've said it a couple times on the podcast as well. CJ Stroud slowed down after that first quarter where he threw those 2 mammoth touchdowns. It seemed like he didn't do anything the rest of the game. So they did just enough to get by to win. Their running game's kind of non-existent with Woody Marks. But yeah, what's your thoughts?
I when you were just mentioning that, the first thought in my head when you're talking about Herbert is kind of, in my eyes, I feel like it's kind of an off year for a lot of these big time quarterbacks because we're talking about Matthew Stafford, who seems like he's 40 years old, and Drake May, who essentially came out of nowhere this year, who's having an excellent year. How about guys like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson? I'll even throw Jared Goff in there. Is he always in the MVP discussion? Maybe not in the top couple, but he has. I mean, the last couple of years, his stats are top 10. Um, yeah, it's been an odd year. I'll say Herbert is still the man. He's banged up right now too. He just had surgery like a couple weeks ago on his non-throwing hand or whatever. So he's not 100%. He doesn't have all the offensive weapons that some of these other teams has. And Houston, on the flip side, I think it's more about Houston than the Chargers. Houston has come out of nowhere. Those first 3, 4 games of the season, they lost a couple. Then they just went on this freaking tear, and this defense has become. I mean, they're a top 4 or 5 rushing defense. Their defense overall, I think, is tops or one of the tops in the league as well. But they couldn't run the ball at all in that game. And when you can't run the ball, you've got a quarterback who's banged up, who doesn't have the best weapons, still more than good enough. But that's a recipe for maybe not scoring a ton of points. And Houston, like I said, they might be a problem this year in the playoffs. So I think it's more about Houston and that defense than anything. But don't worry about Herbert. He's still good. He'll come back even stronger next year. They got 11 wins this year, so
I mean, they clinched the playoffs, so they'll be in the
they
playoffs too, which will be kind of fun. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening with them. But Houston, yep, they're right there too. Moving into a couple teams that are on the bubble, Baltimore needed to have this type of win. And this was without Lamar Jackson, which they just relied so heavily on Derrick Henry, which I went against him in a couple leagues, unfortunately. He put up
Sorry to hear
70
that.
points on me. I know.
70 points.
Nothing's more demoralizing than just looking up and
Man.
it's like, oh shit, I'm already down 70 and it's off of one player. One of the leagues was him and Malik Willis, which I'm still actually in that matchup too, which we'll talk about later. But
Nice.
yeah, Derrick Henry, just dusted his shoulder and said, hey, I'm just going to take it. Don't worry. Just ride me into the playoffs potentially. They needed that win desperately. And, obviously that team just kind of is getting hot at the right time. And they're lukewarm, I guess you could call it. Somebody has to win that awful division in the AFC. I don't know if that's the North considered, but with Baltimore and, Cincinnati's been out of it for how long. So, Packers don't have anything to play for really. They clinched the playoffs as well, so not the end of the world. It's kind of who doesn't want to play the Rams at home is the essential next one. When we talk a little bit about like this upcoming week and what it means. So, but yeah, Ravens pretty good. Packers just on this downward skid.
Yeah, 10th all time. King Henry has jumped into for all time rushing yards, and he is, next year he's going to jump into 7th all time because those 3 guys ahead of him, I forget the names. I was just looking them up, but he's within a couple hundred of the guy who's in 9th, and then the guys who are 7th and 8th are like 20 yards apart themselves. So he's got like 6, 7, 800 yards to eclipse those 3 guys. He's going to be in 7th next year, barring a big injury. He's the man. We know that. There's no reason to not feed the guy, especially this year. Lamar's banged up. We know that. Feed him. Let him eat. And do the same thing next year. Feed the guy until he breaks down or he says, I'm done. Because this is a guy that has a legit chance to get probably top 5. I don't see him catching Emmett, obviously, with like 18,000 rushing yards. That's probably, I don't know if anybody's ever going to touch that. Or even Walter. I think Walter's second with like 16 something. So that's, a crazy number. But he's got a chance to chase down at least 3 more next year, get to 7th all time. And then he plays another year or 2. He could be top 4 or 5 potentially. But Baltimore, too, it seemed like they were dead a couple weeks ago. And then they come out, and then look what they do this week to Green Bay, 41-24. Baltimore's looking pretty good at the right time. I'm not too worried about them come playoff time, but they beat up Green Bay, and Green Bay's kind of without Jordan Love playing. Malik Willis can still move the ball, but I don't know.
Yeah, like we said, they clinched, so it doesn't even make a difference now. But yeah, should be interesting. We're probably looking at a Bears Packers rematch in the playoffs, so that'll be fun. If everything stays as it is today, so that'll be kind of fun. We'll see. But moving into the Sunday slate, we'll kind of whip through these relatively quickly. Bengals very good. Arizona cooled off dramatically. Michael Wilson, though, league winner for a lot of fantasy teams. He's been incredible from the Arizona side. Marvin Harrison Jr., he's been banged up. Obviously, playing with Kyler wasn't working. You know, it would have been kind of cool to see what he would have done with Brissett if he would have had that Michael Wilson type, eclipse. But those Trey McBride owners, 10 receptions, 76 yards, and a touchdown. The guy's been on fire since he hasn't had Kyler. And once again, that's another team that, where do they go from here at the quarterback? Do they try to trade Kyler and, move into that first round and try to grab a quarterback? Or, I don't know where they go from here, but Jacoby Brissett definitely this year has kind of played himself into a contract, at least as a bridge deal. Flip side, though, Joe Burrow, Mr. Consistent, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. Chase Brown, he only looks good when Burrow's out there. Like I said, Burrow was there, so he looked really good. 101 yards, 2 touchdowns rushing, and then obviously Jamar Chase with 2 tutters. So, simple as that. Anything on that game?
Just going to say McBride, I believe, set the all-time single-season record for catches by a tight end, and he's got one more game now since they played 17 games. So, and for everyone in Gridiron, stop asking about McBride. It's not going to happen. So, just stop.
Yeah. Are you getting a lot of action for him?
No, not really. I think Dave might have asked me last year once or twice, and I might have had 1 or 2 other people within the last year or 2 ask about him. So I'm just putting that feeler out there. He's untouchable. I love the guy. I've got Brock Bowers in one league. I've got McBride in another. And I've also got Ty Warren in a league. If you can't tell, I'm a big tight end guy. So, not going to happen.
Watch out if you have a tight end. All right, moving into a team that kind of is choking away with Aaron Rodgers, which, as a Jets fan and how much he kind of badmouthed the organization as much as I do, kind of funny to see. But losing to the Browns 13-6, kind of just like a slobber knocker game. Obviously, they didn't have DK Metcalf, and they kind of seemed to just run the same freaking offense they would have if they did. Scotty Miller out there, Valdez Scantling, a bunch of guys that shouldn't have really been playing. They were kind of just doing the same thing. They didn't rely on the running backs like they should have. Pittsburgh's kind of falling apart. Shadir Sanders throwing interceptions like crazy. Obviously, no Quinshon Judkins anymore because he got pretty hurt last week. But yeah, Harold Fannin, another young tight end that seems to be emerging this year too. Probably be a top 5 tight end for fantasy next year. Mark that one down. And we're on Myles Garrett record watch for the sacks too. I think he's got 21 and a half sacks now. I'll have to fact check myself, but that's basically it for he's up there for the single season, which I would have liked to see him get it in the normal time range just because then, there's not we'll get an extra game. I don't think it really matters. He's been insane this entire career. So this season too.
Yeah, he's a monster.
Since we talked about Baltimore already too, big Sunday night game for the division. Baltimore has a shot. I don't know if Lamar's going to play. If he doesn't play, you got to kind of start having that conversation about, okay, do we even want this guy to be on the team anymore? And it's kind of crazy to even have that kind of discussion just based off the fact that he's won MVPs, but he's got one playoff win.
He's not been able to get it done on the biggest stage, but yeah, he's had a lot of good regular seasons. I think he's got multiple MVPs, if I'm not mistaken. So, it would be interesting to see them kind of cut ties with him this quickly, right? I mean, I've never been a big fan of the guy, but he really hasn't had it's been a while since he's had a quote-unquote bad season. And we all know he's pretty banged up, so I would assume you get him healthy next year and he'll be right back to kind of doing what he's been doing. But, Baltimore, like we said, about a month or so ago, it seemed like they were dead. And now, because Pittsburgh can't get the job done, and Cincinnati didn't have Burrow for 3-4 months, that division's just been about as crazy as any other division in the league this year. So, comes down to next week. We love that.
Yep. Should be interesting. Now, 2 young quarterbacks, as you mentioned earlier, did New Orleans find theirs? They sure as hell might have. Tyler Shaw, 333 yards, solid. 2 touchdowns. On the flip side, Cam Ward has looked really good over his last 5 games, which is kind of what you want to see out of your first overall pick. I think he's had 1 interception multiple two touchdown games. So good for Cam Ward. New Orleans, once again, another dog shit team, but for the most part, he's been feeding and kind of revitalized Chris Olave, which I think he's desperately wanted.
And I was just thinking about that. Like New Orleans, they've got a guy. Olave, when he's healthy, he's a stud. Get Cam Ward a guy, and now from what we've seen,
He'll
like
get
you
one.
said, the last few weeks, I mean, yeah, he's showing some good things. On a team we all knew was going to be really pitiful this year. They don't have a guy, but for them to score
They don't even
26
have a head
points,
coach.
I know you're playing New Orleans, but you know that's not a bad game. 34-26, couple of rookies going at it. And I like, for me personally, I've got Cam Ward and Gridiron. I like what I've seen from the kid. I tried to throw him out as a
Yep.
trade candidate recently to a guy, and you know that team will remain nameless. He's got a couple quarterbacks, so I understand, but he's looked good, man. He's looked really good on a not great team. So I like what I've seen from him.
Absolutely. Next game, Jaguars 12-4, 23-17, eliminating the Colts, who started off the year hot 7-1 and lost pretty much they won one game since
Talk
then, I
about a
believe,
fall off. Yeah.
since they traded for Sauce Gardner, which, as a Jets fan, I'm happy because they can get as low as a pick as 15 now, which is great because they basically just ended up with a top 3 pick and then top 15. We'll talk about them a little bit later, but Jaguars did just enough to end Rivers' career. They came out and said Rivers is done. He's not playing anymore. He's not going to come out of retirement again.
Mm.
I think it was a little bit too late to bring him in. I know Daniel Jones obviously got hurt, so they had to do something, but I think the ship had sailed a long time ago for him. But yeah, it's a shame. No Jonathan Taylor. He started off the year so hot and he kind of fell off. And but on the flip side, the guy that's been hot as shit is Trevor Lawrence. My God, the last couple weeks he was putting up 6 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns. This week he didn't throw for any, but he ran the 2 in that were most important, and they got the job done. And it's gonna be fun to watch him in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's another team that has another really good defense. And, Jacksonville's going to be interesting come playoff time. I don't know how scared of them I am, but T-Law's playing his best football of his career at the right time. 12 wins for this team. A couple of these teams, you look up at the end of the year. I mean, we got one more game left to go. Nobody had the Bears having 11 wins at this point in the year. Same thing with Denver. They got, 13 now? Seattle, with the season they've had.
Patriots.
Patriots. I mean, there's a few teams up there that nobody had with being nearly as good as they've been. So it's been an interesting year, and we'll see if the Jaguars are for real. We got one more game, so we'll see how they are in the playoffs.
Yeah, it is kind of funny too. I don't know if you knew this story, but it's kind of came to light a little bit more recently, just because of how good the Jaguars have been. But Liam Cohn, the head coach, turned down the job, and then the owner fired the GM, and then they then he came back and ended up taking the deal. So full circle on that one. You have to laugh and just see how he can. A GM makes that much of a difference, and they were able to kind of clean it up, and he's kind of fixed Trevor Lawrence, so thank God. But moving into a team that needs some sort of fixing, and he might even get fired, Todd Bowles and the Buccaneers. Baker was having an MVP-like season, and I know we've blamed a lot of injuries, but, as a head coach, you got to do something to kind of right the ship, and he lost to a Dolphins team that also probably firing their head coach with Mike McDaniel. They don't even have 2 out there. You're relying on Quinn Ewers, who didn't look horrible, didn't look good,
No.
but he had 2 touchdown passes and did just enough to win the game. So it's going to come down to the Carolina game for the Buccaneers, who wins the division. Should be quite interesting. But
yeah, very
Buccaneers
interesting
falling apart. All right, next game. This is going to be a quick one. Patriots and Jets, 42-10. Drake May looks really good. It's kind of funny. You lose out on Mike Vrabel as a head coach, which the fact that the Patriots job was available, we all knew he was going there. But you think about like what could have been culture wise for the Jets if they would have just gotten him instead of Aaron Glenn. And people were excited about Aaron Glenn. I was pretty excited just because it was a culture change. They weren't, doing the whole song and dance with Rodgers, but clearly they probably should have if they would have kept him and Adams. Might have looked a little bit better, but I'll digress from that just because it's just how bad the Jets culture is. I mean, you didn't do anything this entire game. You looked actually worse than you have all year. The only bright spot, Brees Hall, eclipsed 1,000 yards rushing on the year. So that's one positive. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Malachi Moore, fourth round pick out of Alabama. He's a safety. He looks pretty good. But Patriots, pretty good team.
Pats are good this year. I'm excited to see who they draw first round in the playoffs because they've looked great all year. And, they started to beat Henderson and Mays up there for the MVP. So I'm excited to see what that team can do come playoff time in an interesting AFC this year.
Yep. Next game, Seattle winning 27-10 over the Panthers. Panthers are kind of on that borderline of making the playoffs. Like I said, they have the Bucks this weekend for the division. I know Ted McMillan was hurt, or not hurt, but he was kind of sick before the game, so that's kind of why he was non-existent. But Bryce Young is one of those guys. He threw for 54 fucking yards. I mean, come on, you got to do something a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
Didn't do enough. But then again, on the flip side, I mean, that defense is still pretty good for Carolina. But Sam Darnold didn't really do very much either. Threw for one touchdown, got sacked 3 times. I think he fumbled twice. Not a recipe to win. Seattle's going to be a tough team. Their defense is nasty for sure. Well-coached team. So we'll see what they end up as far as they can go. I think they go as far as Sam Darnold takes them, but they win when they need to.
Seattle's an interesting
relied on Sharp.
Yeah, they're an interesting team because they've got a little bit of everything, like you said, with the defense. Darnold's having another great year. Darnold's got a legit guy to go to in JSN. Barner is a nice tight end. I picked him up a month or two ago in one of those leagues. It might have been Gridiron. Forget. He's having a solid year. And then you've got the double-headed horse with the rushing attack. You got Kenneth Walker one game and my guy Charbonnet the next. So they're an interesting team. And in the NFC this year, I don't know who the hell to pick. So it is wide open, and I can't wait.
It's so wide open. Yeah, I know. I'm really excited for the playoffs because it's going to be just an exciting year. But moving on to a game that was really not exciting because the team really just kind of came out and said, hey, we're tanking by benching Max Crosby and putting him on the IR, and same with Brock Bowers. They pretty much said, hey, we're going to go pick number 1. We're going to go, as you mentioned, Fernando Mendoza. Come on down. Kind of funny, though, because the Giants had a chance at the first overall pick, and they kind of let Jackson Dart just do his thing, and he rushed for 2 touchdowns. Didn't throw for any, but he looks like he is their guy. It's going to be interesting who goes there for a coach to kind of right the ship there. Obviously, he didn't have Malik Neighbors. They'll probably draft another wide receiver to help him out. So should be interesting there. Raiders, I don't know if they fire Pete Carroll or not, but that team will be drafting probably first overall. So they'll get a brand new QB in there. So see you later, Geno Smith.
Yeah, and Happy Gilmore, if you're listening, I'm coming for that number 1 pick, coming for Mendoza this year. And on top of that, I will be beneficial. What do you give me that look for?
You're not taking Mendoza, even if you got him first overall pick. You're not taking Mendoza with the first overall pick, Dan.
Why not?
Multiple reasons I will have to talk about offline because that's
Wait, yeah. Oh my gosh! I mean, I got 2 quarterbacks. I got Cam Ward and Bryce Young. We'll get into that in a minute. Let's just finish up with the Giants and the Raiders. Yeah, I'm excited. If
Burrow too.
I've got Burrow, but Bryce Young is still kind of he's up in the air. Cam Ward, how much do I like him? Has he had a decent rookie campaign on a crap team with no one to throw to? Yeah, but I like the idea of Mendoza with Bowers and Genty and some of those young studs over there. So Well, it
offensive
can't
line, no
be
wide
it
receivers.
can't be much
Uh,
worse or any worse than Gino's been this year. So it's got to be somewhat better than that. You'd have to assume. But yeah, the Raiders are bad. We all I don't know. The expectation for them was to be a little bit better. Gino's coming off a good year in Seattle. Did not work this year, and you got your ass kicked to a Giants team without Malik Neighbors. So I don't know. Where do you go from here, Pete?
yeah, I mean they're horrific. Yeah, they're horrific, that's for sure. But in a team, moving into two teams that are making the playoffs with the Eagles and Bills, it was a wet game, a lot rainstorm. I think it was in Buffalo, obviously. So interesting game, 13-12. Eagles pulled it out. Uh, sloppy game. I didn't really have a whole lot to say. I know Hurts is feeding AJ Brown, but he didn't feed him enough for my fantasy team, as much as I would have liked. Uh, Allen had to rush in 2 touchdowns. He didn't pass for any. So, uh, going to be too interesting. I don't really have a whole lot on this game, honestly, just because it was such a low scoring and kind of just a defensive battle. Maybe the weather played a huge part in that, but should be interesting going forward to see what these teams do in the playoffs
Did
because they're
I
kind of both borderline, like should be Super Bowl contenders.
right? Did I see that Hertz had no completions in the second half of this game? Did I see that correctly?
Yeah,
I mean, boy,
I think so. Or he had like one or two.
I don't understand the conundrum over there with Hertz. He's been pretty good his career. He's got a Super Bowl. He's got two Super Bowls, whatever he's got. I know the theory on how to beat them is to make them throw the ball. He's thrown the ball pretty well in his career. Now this year, I think it's mental, man. He's hearing all this shit. Oh, you make him throw the ball, this, that, and the other thing. He's got guys to throw the ball to, and he's just missing, or he's just. To me, I think it's in his head. I don't think he's playing injured. I think he's. It's not like he's the best quarterback in the league, but everybody was shitting on him for all these years, and he just kept. Eagles are the 10 wins, 11 wins, 12 wins. Guy was over. I don't know. I think Hurts is a solid quarterback. I don't know why he's been this bad this year, but he's been off. He's been off, and
His accuracy is awful. His accuracy is awful.
well, then maybe that's why. But yeah, I mean, 13-12. I don't care if the game's wet or not. Score some more points. Both of these teams have no excuses for the game to end at 13-12. I don't care about the weather. So I need to see more. And frankly, I got to see more from Buffalo. Philly, we know they've had some issues the last few years with people in the locker room or whatever. Buffalo, score some fucking points. Show me something here. They've had a couple games just like Philly this
Yeah,
year where they lose, they
you know
don't
what?
show up, and you're like, what the fuck's going on with this team?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's very reminiscent too the way that it's going. Like a couple years ago when Buffalo finally took the division away from the Patriots and beat Bill
Mm-hmm.
Belichick in the playoffs like pretty badly. I think we're going to see that this year. I think the Patriots are going to face them like whenever they end up playing. I think it's probably the first wild card round. I think we're going to see the Patriots put a beat down on Buffalo this year. I'm not. They go as far as Josh Allen will take them. They don't have that number one wide receiver. Kincaid's
No.
hurt, and when Kincaid's not out there getting fed, he's not doing anything. So we'll have to see how far Josh Allen will take him. That being said, though, well, let's move into the Sunday night game. Bears lose 42-38 against the 49ers. I think it's got to be a reassuring feeling knowing that you have a quarterback though that will lead you back no matter what. Even though some of the play or not play calls, but some of the throws are not the best decision making across the board down the stretch. You still have a quarterback that will throw for 333 yards or 330 yards and 2 touchdowns. Uh, 49ers are a good team. Bears prove that they can keep up with them. It looks like Caleb Williams is going to finally eclipse 4,000 yards for, I think, the first time in Bears history. I think he's only a couple, like 300 yards away, basically, or 250 or 270. So, depending on if you count playoff stats, it could happen then. I don't know if the Bears end up starting a full lineup next week. They really don't have anything to play for. But you never know. But that being said, let's jump into the game. Brock Purdy has been one of the hottest quarterbacks over the last 2 weeks. Dude's just throwing for multiple touchdowns. He threw for 3 last night. Christian McCaffrey, when the dude's healthy, The dude's a horse, and you just ride him into the sunset, and that's sure as hell what they did. And they did it without George Kittle. But on the flip side, Luther Burden, he's looked really good too. 138 and 1.
Yeah, we didn't have a Dunze again, which hurts the offensive attack a little bit. But you still got a lot of weapons over there. Komet, Loveland, who's come on the last month or two. You still have DJ Moore. You mentioned Burden, who had a career game. Um, man. I mean, you right there, right? This game was tied at 7, 14, 21, 28, and 35. Bears have 6 wins when trailing with 2 minutes or less in the fourth quarter this year. Those, I think that's most in the NFL. God, it was such a good game. It's just, it's one of those games where it's not. I don't know if we really did anything to lose this game. It's just San Fran was just, they were just really on the right page or whatever last night. And I like Brock Purdy, but I also don't. I don't think he's that good. And I don't think, the Bears defense is middle of the road, mediocre. We're great with takeaways this year, but we made Brock Purdy look like Tom Brady or fucking Peyton Manning in his MVP season. So you can't do that. We did have the takeaway to start the game, and you're like, okay, like I'm juiced up. Let's fucking go. Shots of tequila for everybody. Let's go, right? And it just kept going back and forth. And you saw San Fran's offense get rolling, and we had no answer for McCaffrey all night, and then no answer for Purdy without Kittle. So it hurts when guys like Ricky Pearsall and Jawan Jennings are beating you and badly. Not that they're bad receivers, but come on now. And San Fran's a good team. We weren't talking about them enough this year because they were a little banged up, and Purdy was out for a little while. But they're a good team. They're coming into their own at the right time. And
you got to tip your cap. You have
to
tip your cap to them. I mean,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, lick the wounds. You're still making the playoffs. You're still going to be maybe like a 2 seed at worst. I mean, at best. I mean, you guys weren't winning the first overall seed, but 49ers might end up with the bye too if they beat. I think they have a chance. I think they saw that. Either way,
if they win next
they're in the
week,
playoffs as well, and you better hope.
Yeah.
And I would just hope you don't run into them because that team was the last couple of weeks they looked really hot, and that Colts game on that Monday night was scary. How good they looked. They looked like they were flying to the ball the entire time. But yep, Bears fans, lick the wounds. You got some time tonight. Rams, Falcons. Moving into the fantasy landscape, 3 championships on the line for me tonight. One of them I'm down like 20 or so because of fucking Brock Purdy. I have Stafford, Parkinson, Nakua going versus Bijan and Kyron. If Stafford goes off with like Nakua, Parkinson had a bad week last week, and this is going to be a shot at Rich. I don't know if you're going to listen to it, but he's giving me so much shit because I started Parkinson last week. It didn't make a difference anyway. I got smoked by Pat and Gridiron, but I think Parkinson will do just fine tonight. I think he'll bounce back because I don't think Nakua is going to score 62 points like he did last week. But if he does, great. That means I win. So that's one league. Shout out Mike. He's going for his second title. I'm going for my first in this league. So hopefully I pull it out. It'll be on Stafford's back. And then on the flip side, in my Campus to Canton league that I've told you about, facing Pat in this one. If he wins, he's winning double champ because he is our Gridiron Throne champion. Shout out Pat on that one. Long time coming for that win, so good for you. But that league, he is up like 280 to 190 on me. He has a defensive player left. I have Nakua, Bijan, Kyron, and Parkinson. I'm not a big Parkinson guy. I had to be because Bowers got called out. We're down, but it is doable. I did the math. Basically need at least 30 from Nakua and Bijan. That's kind of like the average. So that gets me to 60. And then I basically need 14 out of Kyron, and I need 14 out of Parkinson. I need his defensive player to do nothing. That's my chance at the championship there. The other one I think I told you before the show, or we led off with it against Dave in our Gods League. I'm up 100. He's got Stafford, London, and Kyron. Hopefully I can hold him off. It's kind of funny though, just because I have so many of those same players. I'm either facing them or I need them to win. So I also need Kyle Pitts in a league for third place, but I don't really care about that one.
I don't know that
So yeah.
second league you mentioned. It sounds like you need a lot to happen. 280 to 190. You've got a lot of guys going, but it seems like that's your long shot right there. The other two could be doable. That long shot, though, if you win that second league,
Well,
you might have to open a nice bottle of whiskey or something, whatever your choice is.
so the reason that I think, and Rich, it was funny because Pat it's against Pat, and he reached out in our team our group chat, and he
Mm-hmm.
was like, "Hey, what do you think the odds are, or whatever?" And I gave him kind of the same spiel about how I broke it down. It's only 88 points I'm down. Basically, I need Bijan to do this and Nakua to do this. The way I look at it, I have two of the players that could go off for 40 points each. That's 80. And then two other players that literally could just fart into the end zone. I'm hoping that this is a high scoring game and that could be a thing. I could see it also being, because it's my luck and everyone knows my luck after talking about fantasy. This game will be nothing and my players will do shit. But I mean, the two things that I definitely need to happen, I need Stafford to go off and I need Nakua to do well. That's pretty much my hope and dream here. So hopefully I can bring home at least one of these titles. Three would be great, but I'm not going to be greedy. So hopefully we pull one out for the team. So let's go.
Yeah, let's go, guys. I'm sure you're getting a big game from Stafford and Nakua and Parkinson. My one buddy Sean was asking me, do I start Parkinson or Fannin this week? And I think I told him to go Parkinson just because I'm not a huge believer in Shadur, but we'll see. We'll see. Don't quote me.
I mean, Devontae Adams is out. He has to throw it to somebody, and every week outside of last week, he threw to him. So
Yeah.
I think last week was just a rarity that he did that. So I think we can close it out there. Long podcast, but thanks for tuning in. So we'll see you next week. Hopefully,
Well,
3 championships.
yeah.